Hello, everybody. Welcome to Now That's Love with your favorite mother-daughter duo, Ashlyn and Janae LaFleur.
Yes, where you get to know thyself, love thyself, and become the best version of yourself.
Because the greatest love story you are ever going to tell is the one with yourself.
It is.
And we are so excited today. We are going to be hopping in, talking about the journey of codependency and understanding if you are codependent, how to walk along that journey of finding that fine line between being just of service or of being the codependent. So we're going to hop into that. First, I want to remind everybody to subscribe, follow, heart, love us so much. Spread the love, because when you spread the love, you're helping us spread the love further with just all the beautiful messages we're ready to share with you guys on Now That's Love.
The domino effect.
Yes.
Spread the love.
Thank you guys for listening in. This is going to be number, 14. So I am so proud that we are on number 14. And if you're joining us now, welcome. You can find us also at Now That's Love and follow us there and YouTube and Spotify. So let's hop into it.
Let's hop into it. In 2020, at the very end, going into 2021, I heard the word codependency, and I'd heard it before, but it explained to me, made me think I need to go investigate it a little bit deeper. And we were like, look, Ashlyn's going to list a list of a top 10 type of characteristics, and understanding that codependency is programmed in our subconscious mind. And we know that we can rewire our mind, the neuroplasticity, but it comes with awareness, and it comes with things that we're going to talk about closer to the end of this video that you can do today that will help you with this. So we want you to come into this not beating yourself up or blame gaming or anything, because it's really programmed into us at a younger age. And so we'll talk about that. But Ashlyn's going to list the list up, because this is what's made me go, wow, okay, this is, yes. I have these things and I've walked through this life, and that's what's created the outcome of some of my relationships. It's basically about relationships in life. So here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really grateful that you were able to introduce this to me and during that time, because it was mind-blowing to me. You don't know until you find out the word behind all these things you're doing. And I was really blessed that you were able to give me that knowledge and the signs, and that way I could even evolve even further. So these are the top 10, and I'm going to read them out slowly to y'all. Just answer them truthfully with yourself. You don't have to obviously say it out loud, but just internally soak it in. And if this resonates with you, really follow along with us on this one. So, are you in a codependent relationship? Are you walking on eggshells to avoid conflict? Are you feeling the need to check in or ask to do daily tasks with the relationship that you're in or friendship you're in? When they call, you go, needing to be next to them at all times. Usually you can even connect this to possibly you've had a friend that always has to go to their partner, tagging along with you guys. The second that they're away from their partner, they're checking their phone. Saying sorry. Trying to change, rescue the troubled or addicted people that have problems. Doing anything for someone and lacking boundaries to say no when you don't want to necessarily do it. Needing them to like you, to feel good about yourself. Struggling to have any time for yourself because you're always at their beck and call, or needing to be around them, or them needing to be around you. Feeling like you don't even know who you are anymore when you're around that person or in that relationship / environment. And that's the top 10 of finding out if you're in a codependent relationship. So if any of those resonated with you, you can raise your hand in the comments if you don't need to, but we all, I think a lot of us, even if it's just one of them, can resonate with one of your relationships or all your relationships that you're in right now. So we're going to go into talking about where codependency stems from.
Right. In childhood, the therapist will say that it comes from feeling like when you said something, you were told it wasn't true, gaslighting, or there was sexual abuse, being played small. If you detach from your emotions as a codependent, it is very difficult for you to even touch into where you're at with your emotions. You're more worried about somebody else's emotions. Like, are they happy? Are they sad? Should I do this for them? You're literally even stepping into the future and thinking, well, 4 hours from now, I'm starting to see the telltale signs. You'll find this in abusive relationships. You can find it with alcoholic relationships, with a dominant mom or a father, a sibling, or a child even that's an adult, that we become enablers for them because we're the ones that are going to go fix or take care of things. Their problem becomes our problem. And it literally feels that way. It feels like if they're really sad, oh my goodness, I'm so sad too. If they're really angry, you go on this hyper alert. Instead of just being the observer. And
you're absorbing.
We're so afraid of, a lot of times it's abandonment. It's an anxious attachment style that happens there. And it stems from our childhood, where maybe we did have somebody abandon us, or somebody that was majorly a workaholic and just wasn't around. You weren't seen. You felt never enough. You don't feel like you're enough now in your relationships. You need to do more, more, more. And that's just so empty. And somehow, if they say, even if it's your birthday and they say, well, we should go do this, you don't dare speak up for yourself and say, well, actually, I really wanted to do this, because you may fear a rage or a negative response. And that goes along with, if you're with someone and you maybe don't want to go out for some sort of activity, you do it anyways because you think they're going to be upset, or they might go out and be with somebody else. It's very much people pleasing, fixer upper, walk all over me, eggshell type thing. And you can see and you feel so off. You start having headaches, anxiety, depression, you feel frustrated. I don't know that a lot of us knew we were so-called codependent, because as women, we find ourselves, and men do too, but service. Is it service oriented, or do I feel obligated? I have to do this. Or do I need to go fix somebody because you see somebody hurting, and so it's your job? You literally have it within you. This is something I noticed. This is what I'd ask myself as I was walking through this. Am I doing this to make myself feel better? Am I going to take care of this person so that I feel better? Because I can't stand that they're feeling terrible. They're a grown adult, and I felt like, you feel like you're the mass person that needs to go and jump on everybody and love on them. And yet, by doing so, you're taking so much away from what you need. You start to really truly lose yourself, because it's wired like, where's the next dopamine hit? Where's the next hit of feeling like, some people will even stay in like a martyr, but they'll tell people, oh my goodness, I have to help my sister, and then my mom and my dad, and da 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 da, and I'm just so overwhelmed and everything. But there's some sort of a fix there that's egoic, part of the codependency, thinking that, poor you, and it's like you've really truly lost the idea.
Well, I feel like a lot of ours even came from, this is a little tiny bit off topic, but a lot of it came from the service of the religion we both grew up in.
It was,
that you basically were judged off how much service you could give. And especially as women, which I'm about to hop into, we felt as women that we were the caretaker of so many things. We were the caretaker of the people in the church, our family, our husbands. And it just started dominating, not even taking care of ourselves anymore. You sacrificed your own health at times for just the service of the church. But
Right.
throughout history, we have been plundered and just burned away from ourselves. We're going into unnatural ways just to please others, of fulfilling all these little things. And we're supposed to be on a cycle of like each month we're on our cycle. And sometimes it's not our time to necessarily hop into those things. And you're supposed to really be intuitive with yourself. And does this feel good to me that I'm doing this for them? Do I want to do this? And sometimes, yes, there's moments where you don't, like for your children, there's moments where you don't necessarily want to do something. But are you constantly being that person where they say something happens, or they say stand and you stand, or you sit and you sit down? In society, women are pressured to be all things to all people. If you're a mom, you're a mom. We've taken on all these roles and like just traits that we have to hold to just be pressured. As a stay-at-home mom myself, I feel this pressure from society to, oh my gosh, like make the best peanut butter jelly sandwich out there. And if you're a working mom, then you feel pressured that you have your kid in daycare and that you're working and you're doing all these things. And even just being a stay-at-home mom, I felt guilty at times that I wasn't taking on financial parts of the household. You feel like you're not enough. So I know so many women can relate to this. You sit down for 5 seconds and you feel guilty for sitting down for freaking 5 seconds. Like, so many women that I've talked to can't even sit down and enjoy a dang movie. And because we're just thinking, oh, well, my son needs this, or my husband, oh
Yeah, there's
gosh, my
always
husband
something
comes
to
home
do.
and
Mm-hmm.
God forbid the dishes are dirty. I
Right.
can't relate to this because my husband knows that, it's a crazy household sometimes. There's moments where my baby's diaper has exploded 5 times that day, and I haven't gotten to that, and that's okay. But are you feeling that codependency that if you're not on top of something, that something is not clean or something is not
Right.
done, you're not
It's an
going to be enough, you're
addiction
not
type.
going to be
Mm-hmm.
loved? And
Yeah.
that's the sad part that I feel like we've taken on as women, is that we don't feel like we're enough just being who we are in the exact moment that we're in. We don't feel enough for our children, for our husband, for our friends. We have so many tasks that we have to complete, and we already are whole in this exact moment.
Right. So beautiful. I think Ashley and I talked about this, that you have your children, and it could be that part too where you start to just, even like a helicopter mom. I was a helicopter mom in the beginning when my kids went to school. It just crushes your heart as a mother to see, your children be so sweet and innocent in so many ways. And then you take them to school, and I was a room mom, and to go in there and see other little kids being mean to your child. And you
Mm-hmm.
could literally can feel like they're breaking their heart. And this is a life process, and you want to literally helicopter, but then you can also take it into when they're teenagers and they have at 9 o'clock at night coming into you. I'm like, Mom, I have a project and it's due tomorrow morning. And I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously?
You didn't tell me this 2 weeks ago.
And when did you get told about this? And I used, for a couple times, I would like get in the car, go to the store. And after that, we had the explanation, like, let me know at least a couple of days in advance, or, a day, because I'm sure that the teacher did not give it to you just today
No.
for this big project to happen. And I had to stand my ground. This was a boundary, which I didn't know about boundaries, but I had to stand my ground in one situation with one of my children, that they did come to me again and say, oh, we've got to go to the store, we've got to get this, and da, 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 da. And it was very late at night. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, you'll just have to take the grade, whatever it's going to be. We can get it
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, but I'm not going to jump out of bed and go grab this for you.
Yeah.
But that set the precedence that in the future, that child was like, okay, we're going to let Mom know. So Ashlyn and I were just saying, like, we can kind of start our children off as being enabled. That we're there for them.
Mm-hmm.
as much like just love. But then you go and you have adults and everybody, can you imagine like our evolution in our soul and ourselves, a lot of it comes from suffering and expansion of our souls, of like having to dig deep
Yeah.
and go within. And so we are actually doing a disservice by saving everybody.
Yeah.
We are doing a disservice. We need to save ourselves from being
Yeah.
codependent. So
I feel like too, the to fear to break codependency is usually to fear to venture out on ourselves by ourselves in a
yeah,
way. It's like always needing that attachment next to us, like that safety blanket. Like if we don't have that one person,
it's
who
real.
are we? And it can be scary at times. Maybe
Yes.
you're in a relationship right now that you've been with them for 4 years. It's a habit. It's like that constant thing every day you've just been around, and to break up with that, you feel like you're gonna break up with yourself, and that can be a
Yes.
scary thing. In Jerome and I's relationship, it's a very beautiful thing that we have, because I was very in the beginning of our relationship, I always wanted to be around him. I never walked on eggshells, but I just feel like, oh my gosh, if I leave his side, something's gonna happen. And we ended up growing into, he was very patient with me during that time, and I began to evolve, and we detached from each other. And I feel like whenever you say detached, people look at that as a very negative connotation or word, but we ended up detaching and finding he already really knew himself, but he even gained a deeper growth and involvement in himself. And I began to truly love myself and being okay. Like, hey, if he was to leave tomorrow or not, I'd wake up and he's not there, I'm okay. Like, I'm really okay by myself. I love him so deeply and I want him in my life. I get so excited when he comes home from work. I don't get scared that the house isn't clean or that I'm not good enough. We love each other for who we uniquely are in the very moment, not trying to change or fix or anything. So I was able to progress on my codependency with him. I ended up finding out, like, it's like, oh, just whenever you think that you have maybe something solved, the universe sometimes, or God, divine, loves to hit you and say, hey, you think you learned your lesson, but you're going to learn it through another person. I ended up finding out some codependency on some of my friendships that I was in, and working through that. But whenever you're able to sit back and just, are you able to be alone in your thoughts and
Mm.
love yourself? Um, I wrote down, do not get caught up in your mind. And one of my my friendships that I was in, I talk about it in my first podcast, with about postpartum depression and grief and the 5 stages of grief. She constantly said, I'm sorry, that my friend that ended up passing away. And she was always in her mind, always worried about what others think. She put herself constantly like behind other people and let them take the step forward, whenever she should have been really taking care of herself mentally. And that's why I feel very passionate about this topic on codependency, because it can affect your mental health to the point where you don't know who you are. You get lost in the service. You get lost in helping people. You start walking on eggshells, and not even then you start even sometimes secluding yourself.
Yeah.
So you do not need to play a role to be liked more, or even like have more also with your role of being a mom or whatever role you're taking on right now. It's not who you are. It's just a role. So remember that you're just playing like a little part in each person's life, and it doesn't need to be who you are, because you are already whole. You are already perfect and loved within. You should just like, that's what I say in the very beginning, your greatest love story is with yourself, because the second you can do that, all the little roles that you're playing in that other people's stories, it's like It's cool. I'm just a little role playing part of it, but it doesn't make me who I am in those relationships.
Well, flipping the pancake we talked about,
Mhm.
where here is here's how much you're loving on everybody else. Here's the pancake. You're just giving so much love and service
Yeah.
and kindness to somebody else. Flip the pancake and now put it on yourself. You're already very capable because you're doing it for others. You're just unconditionally loving and being there for others. And so you
I
just
love that.
flip it. And now it's just you. Just witness and be aware of how you're treating yourself. And then start, like, really, like we've talked about, saying, I love you more, a little more today, or I am enough. And I really feel that. I really feel that I am enough just as I am right now. I'm doing my best
Yeah.
and I only have the present moment. And it's rewiring of your brain for this, because literally on a weekly basis, this is a walk. On a weekly basis, I'm like, okay, I I ended up doing this. That was an old way of mine, and I don't need to. I should have said no, or I should have done this differently. And so I tell myself, okay, in reflection, if I was to give an opportunity again, how would I do it differently?
Yes,
That
I
helps.
love that. That's what we started doing instead of beating ourselves
Mm-hmm.
up about that
Don't
one situation.
right. You need the
We can't
compassion
go
on
back.
yourself. You can witness leaving a conversation in your relationship, and you're trying your very best to say, kind things, being your authentic self, your truest self. But the overthinking mind, we're going to be talking about that again. But
Yeah.
you leave as a codependent and think, I probably shouldn't have said this. I probably shouldn't have said that. The whole sorry game. And then you give yourself this beat up. Oh, I have shame or guilt. It's the
It's so
craziest thing. I
true.
feel so
It doesn't
guilty.
make anything better. It
It's like
doesn't.
you literally are living in this prison of the mind of you. That's when we're talking about, like, you feel like you lose yourself because you're trying to show up as yourself in relationships,
Mhm.
but you might have taken on so many different masks. Well, this person, I can be with this person because I am this religion at this time. But if I'm over with this person is absolutely not this religion. So I've got to put on this mask. Or this person is this way with money and this person's this way with money. So you find, like,
Being the
you are literally
chameleon.
the
Mhm.
chameleon as a codependent. And uh, generations with women, this is coming to my heart space, is that for
Yeah.
generations, for women, especially for the voting and for even being able to, like, you could be in an abusive marriage, but the
Mhm.
man would get the children if
Oh,
you
yeah.
tried to leave
And
it, or
even
even to
just like
save your
50
children.
years ago, they made it illegal to not rape your wife. 50
Right.
years ago. Like that's
So there's
bank
a
accounts were
lot of
just allowed to us
fear. Yeah,
then
there's
too.
trauma. Yeah, bank accounts, jobs, and making your own money. So there could be women that have been married for 60 years, let's say, but you have to step back and say, were those 60 years of a woman that literally was so fearful of leaving her situation,
Yeah.
or didn't feel like she was enough, or she stayed with, let's say, the alcoholic, that she was constantly caregiving and she felt guilt that if she was to leave, just stepping back and being like, this person is an adult. My dad would always say to me, in a relationship, if there are addictions that they're not willing to get help for, or they're not able to, like, if they're really affecting you and your own health, or if there's abuse, get out. Get
Mhm.
out. In other relationships, a lot of things can be communicated and worked on,
Yes. I
and that
agree.
you can evolve together. And it doesn't have to always be a certain level of any, like, happiness, positivity. It's beautiful. You can evolve together. But if there is abuse going on, if there is um, an addiction that's taking out your health and your mental space, and you're
Yes.
having anxiety and depression, these are the questions to ask. So one of the things that a top therapist out there said, and I did this and I thought it was really beautiful, write down your top relationships, friendships, family, and you can even do a circle if you want to.
Mm.
See the pros and cons of, like, if you feel like you're with somebody, you almost dread that the phone. Okay, this is a good example. You see the phone and it's them. You're like,
You're like, oh,
oh, here we go. See what you can, write that person down and say, is this someone I need to create some healthy boundaries with? And if they're not able to respect those boundaries, I've got to choose me right now. They can go do the work on themselves to be able to come back into my life if they're not abusive. They can do the work. And if they choose to, then, I have an open heart. But at this time, I've got to take care of me. So think about the phone dread. Another thing that's a factor to look at that's coming to my heart is that we over-explain as a codependent. We find ourselves over-explaining. So normally somebody says something like, are you going to be at the restaurant at 5:00 tonight? Oh no, I've got this headache and and this went on and then and my cat this and then this happened and that happened.
Well, at my graduation party with Malay, it was so beautiful because we were going to hand him a brownie and you asked him, hey, do you want this brownie? And he just looked at you and just shook his head no and just walked off. Right. No regrets, remorse. Right. No is an answer.
He wasn't worried about me going, what? I mean, how many of us have grandmas out there? I've heard this so many stories.
You don't want my food?
What? I mean, it hurts their hearts. And there's some ethnicity, right? There's some ethnicities, they consider it rude to not take what they've prepared for you. And I can see that. But if this is where the programming starts, you're your own unique 100% individual, and breaking free with the codependency, it's going to be a journey. But that's why when Ashley and I start out our podcast, and we say, know thyself, get to know thyself, love thyself, and be thy best self. That really helps break down and shatter the codependency cycles that you'll just become a lot more aware, and then you get to make decisions. There is such a part of brain that Ashley and I talk about all the time. We want it to be done in a week. Oh, you know what? This is a 6-month program. I'm never going to have codependency tendencies ever again in my life. So,
no, we find little spurts of it in ourselves. It's, I also like to add on to not even just a text message of feeling like, anxious around it. It's even just previously in the past, it was like a checklist for me. Okay, I hung out with this person. Thank God I don't have to hang out with them for another 2 months, because at least I hung out with them and I'm not going to hear any contention, or there's not going to be any drama between us. And it was like a checklist for me. It's like, okay, I'm not going to have to hear any crap from them. And it was sad. Would you want someone to do that with you? And I had to mirror that back onto me. Would I want to be part of someone's checklist that I had for them? Well, okay, I guess I have to hang out with Ashlyn because I'm not going to have to hear anything really from her, or I'm not going to feel guilty for not hanging out with her, but I'm going to have to still take on her energy. You're doing a disservice for both of y'all at that point. Let's be honest. You're not serving them by being with them, because you don't even want to hang out with them. Would you want to have someone hang out with you when you're wasting your time? You're wasting their time, and it's so precious on both ends. So do yourself, if you really want to do a great service, do that service of saving you guys both the time and effort of meeting up, hanging out, being like, all right, check. Completed that off my list.
Well, and that's bouncing into a codependent is also, we're not so in touch with our emotions. And we've been taught that when we share our emotions, that either we're going to be like abused or quieted down or get over it. Like go deal with it on your own. Just go to your room and figure it out. So with that what came to me was that getting back in touch with your emotions is with what Ashlyn had just said, with being with that person and how do people see us. One of the things that I had to learn and I got to learn with this codependency is that it's okay to really truly express your depth of what you've gone through on different things, and pick one person and have that one person. This is just a Janae moment of like my spirit essence telling me, pick that one person that you can be truest self with, that's safe, and this will help you grow out into being able to do it with others. So, like
Mhm.
Ashley and I are that.
And we're
If she,
very honest with each other too.
right,
Like I'll say, if this is too much for you in the moment, she'll even check in with me.
yeah,
Ashlyn, if this is too much for you in the moment, let me know.
yeah. Do you have
And I'll
space for
and
me?
and we both know we're not codependent with each other. Where I can say no, I'm ready to, whatever you need to get off your chest, whatever you need,
I'm going to get space.
let it
Yeah.
out, and it's a safe space for us to be in.
Yeah. And then it's done. We've journaled it. There's just certain times where I'm like, I need that connection
To
and I
speak
need
it
that
out.
safe space.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to a place within ourselves that if Ashlyn tells me something, I really am the observer. I'm not trying to fix her. I'm not trying to make her feel better. She just needs to
Mhm.
feel heard. And that's so in your relationships with codependency, if you have that one person that you can think of, it's a very safe space for you to just let out. I think that one of the best respectful boundaries that you can create is to say, do you have space for me right now? Because we can become also addicted to becoming the victim story, and then this happened and then this happened every single day, and that's not good either.
Yeah.
So there is that beautiful line of having someone that you can start to express
For
yourself
me
with
and
that's not going to
you,
gaslight you.
we have like a kind of a three limit thing. We're okay. The first one,
We do.
let it all out, baby doll. The second one is, okay, hey, I just might need to touch up on this or that. Could you just listen to me? Sometimes, and a lot of times we'll speak it out and we don't need them to even say anything. We're just that we've already solved it in that moment with our intuition.
Right.
And then our third time is sometimes, oh my gosh, okay, I've really come to clarity on this. I see that there's just this one thing. I'm going to journal it out. And then I feel like I'll be pretty clear. And sometimes there might be like a little tiny bit of a fourth time of just, oh my goodness, ha ha ha, this kind of crept in a little bit of what, it could be something we're working on or a relationship that we're trying to figure out. Oh my gosh, I caught this, but guess what? You're going to be so proud of me. I didn't do it. And by that point, it's like we've figured it out on our own. We've created that safe space for each other. We both individually know that we're going to do the work by ourselves. So if she has an issue or a problem or something that she's walking through, she'll tell me. But then I know that you're going to go and
Right.
really be mindful of what you're doing in that moment with those things.
Right. Part of codependency is we start to need everybody's opinion
Mm-hmm.
about what decision we're going to make. And so that is where Ash and I are talking about, like,
Mm-hmm.
stepping away, starting to learn how to trust in your own self, and having that one person, because a lot of times you just need to feel heard to
Yeah.
say something. Ashlyn's not coming to me for my opinion necessarily, or what should I
Sometimes not.
do.
I'll ask if I need
Sometimes
it.
if
Yeah.
she needs it, she will ask. But a lot of times it's more of like, this is what's going on. And in that conversation, she already has her answer because she's done the work.
Yeah.
And that's where you start to like think about let's step back into high school. Let's say you're part of a group and you have 5 girlfriends, and you're sitting and you're telling them, now those 5 girlfriends are going to go tell their boyfriends or whatever. And it's spread like wildfire. Before you know,
Yeah.
you have, the 50th person come up to you. They've heard it from so and so and so and so. It's a totally different story, but they're coming to you as a reminder, like, oh, I heard this happened. Well, now you're living it. Like it might last another 6 months for the one thing that was just in a girl conversation, or just, that's why I say have a trusted friend. Have
Yeah,
a
and we don't hold
trusted
each
friend.
other against those things. Like
No,
you'll
I don't
walk through it
judge
or
her for
I'll
one
walk through
second.
it. And
Mm-mm.
then we understand we're evolving. Every week we're a new freaking person. And I don't say, "Oh, remember a month ago or a year ago
Yeah,
that you were this person." I don't even the evolution of me and you, we are constantly learning and growing and we understand that. So
it's
get
beautiful.
somebody that gets you. I think that's what I'm
Right.
trying to
And if
say.
you don't have that right now, start living more of your truth and find out who you really are. And who
Yeah.
you truly are is everything that you weren't. Like all these things that you were
Boom.
you had, like you're not that. So asking really intuitively, like, who am I? Who am
And we're
I?
going to do a podcast because obviously we are talking deeply on intuition on this one. We're going to do a
Yeah.
podcast about intuition
Teaching, showing
and
how.
just learning more how to connect with that. I
Yeah.
also want to add too that we both, gosh, we both freaking know how hard it can be. And we understand that who you are, you can get so lost in those relationships. I've gotten so lost in some of, especially my male relationships from the past where I didn't know who I was. I've talked about that, I believe, in a previous podcast where I just wanted to please him so much. I had one of them that threatened at moments to leave, and I basically would just start crying and
Mm-hmm.
losing all control of who I even was. He would threaten me with packing up his bags.
Hashtag I'm done.
Yeah. Like pack up his bags and get ready to leave, and he started getting enjoyment and
Yeah.
somewhat a kind of a little addicted to whenever I would cry out for him, please don't leave me, please don't leave me, I need you, I need you. And then the day that he did that, and I was like, there's the door. He was shook, and he
Yeah.
didn't know how to handle it. So just remember that I always like to just joke around and be like, there's the door, bitch, but let those people walk out. It's okay. You can't, the more that you hold on to things, it's just going to keep scarring you up and bruising
Mm-hmm.
you up, and letting those relationships just letting flow. I don't know. I'm all about, I'm a water sign, so I'm just about letting flow. And I guess the question I'm asking you is like, who are you? Who are you in this exact moment? And that can become very blurry on asking yourself that question. And I remember trying to figure this out probably about 2 years ago. I asked myself, who am I? I don't know who I am. And I remember like kind of freaking out, and I'm getting a little teary eyed about this because it's like, I don't know who I am, Mom. Like, I really got lost in motherhood for a little while there, and I didn't know who I was. And I figured out that it's okay. Like, it's okay to not know who you are.
Right.
I gained a love for myself, and with gaining a love for myself, I started beginning to find out who I was. And when you ask that question, what is left is who you are. You already are, like, in that exact moment, whole. And I feel like we are trying to find ourselves in these roles, or trying to find ourselves with a person. That's why we're codependent. It's because we're trying to find ourselves within that person. And that's not the way to find yourself. You already are so
Right.
whole and beautiful. And by giving up to finding yourself, you become free of the ego, free of codependency, free to love yourself so deeply. And I'd also like to add on where it doesn't matter what other people think about you,
Mm-mm.
because you end up at the end, goodness, sorry, they are limiting themselves by judging you. So remember that if they're judging you for putting up your boundaries during, because we'll hop into that on the next podcast, if they're judging you, that is just their reflection. They're limiting themselves by limiting you on where you can go, where you can grow.
Well, we're
And I
all
noticed that
unlimited.
in my codependency where I stunted my growth so many times because I was so codependent. Well, do you want to do this? No, I would never. Then they would tell me, no, I would never do that. So I'm like, oh gosh, I'll never do that because I want to please you. You start we talked about in dimming their light and that podcast. You hold yourself back. Don't hold yourself back, baby doll. Like, you have so much that you can do, and be with those people that are like, go for it. And as we mentioned with codependency with our kids, it's with our kids, we think that if they leave or don't obey, you lose a part of your identity or your ego. And I wanted to hit topic on that with our kids on codependency, because I've noticed that a lot in society where that's not mentioned as much. Yes, we're supposed to guide our kids and provide for our kids and love our kids so much. The greatest thing you can do for them, though, is just living in the present moment. They're going to turn 18 or whenever they decide to leave the house. I feel like nowadays it's like 25 when you leave the house. But when they leave the house, you lose part of who you are because you were so codependent on that relationship to define you. Define me, please, and sorry, I know this is completely off topic, but it reminded me of the Friends episode whenever the psychologist comes in and he was talking about their friendship as the six of them, and he's like, yeah, all you guys are so codependent on each other. It's like, define me, need me, love me. And they all look at each other like, are we? But by not taking on others' problems, it benefits them. So remember that by not taking on your children's problems, other people's problems, let them evolve. Stop trying to solve everything. And I know it can be so hard sometimes, but stop trying to fix people, because by not allowing others around us, including our kids, to suffer in what's going on in their life, you're stumping their chance to evolve and grow. So again, do a service by not doing a service on that one. Because it's there was moments that it's whenever with Malay, like, don't do this, don't, and obviously I'm here to protect him. I'm not going to let him run into a street and be like, well, you're on your own, you're supposed to feel pain. But I noticed that I'll tell him to stop doing something. I'm like, Malay, don't jump on the couch, you're going to hurt yourself. And he keeps jumping on his couch, or I'll leave the room for just 5 seconds. And I feel like every parent can relate. You leave the room for 5 seconds and you hear a knock on the wall and they start crying and you're like, I told you. But you can tell people so many times. And until they go through it, they're not going to understand. So let them go through that pain or that suffering. And I know it can be hard as a friend to observe that. You can be there for them. You can support them. You can say, hey, drop food off at their house. But realize that you need to take a step back at times and let people feel. You cannot take on their emotions. They need to feel it. Going through that chance of pain, that directs them on their path. And we all have our own journey in this lifetime. So many moments in my life where I endured pain. And of course, during that time, my mom probably was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could, take this on. As all parents, we want to take this on. You don't want your children to feel it. Mm-hmm. But remember, they're on their life path. There's whatever's going on in their life, that is what is supposed to happen. I know it can freaking suck to say that sometimes, because you're just like, well, my child should not be going through this, and I can relate. There's moments where I'm like, I don't want him to hurt mentally, physically, any of that. But I know that the best I can do as a parent is just being there. And like I said, in the moment, to guide him. If he has questions, be open for it. Letting go of the codependency gives you the opportunity to find our individual vision and song and just the beginning of our creative soul. Mm-hmm. So once you open up that,
free,
you become free to explore yourself. Isn't that so great? It's so beautiful.
We've done so much work, and so we can sit here and tell you how amazing it is. In the beginning, it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel very uncomfortable to set healthy boundaries, to get to know thyself, just the awareness of your actions and your relationships. So take the journal. Ashley, I want to show you really quick at the end of this podcast some of our books. I'll just show you a couple that have been published on Amazon. But here's, let's get on the front of the camera. Now Live, Laugh, Love, with a little rainbow on the heart. I freaking
love the rainbow in the heart.
I do too. And it's just prompts in the book, just writing your thoughts down for the day, breaking free from the cycle. And then, how did I love myself today? Which was like your fun, beautiful moment that made you happy today. just different things on that prompts.
Yes, I'm just going to show one right now because I like a good cliffhanger, everybody. So you guys are going to have to tune into the next podcast for the next one. But mine is called the Gratitude Journal. As you guys know, if you haven't already, previous podcast is all about gratitude and just multiplying all your amazing things that are just going great in your life right now. So, of course, I have the date, teacher.
It's
my daily gratitude.
It's a good one.
It says, today I'm grateful for today's affirmations, 3 good things today, and something I'm proud of. And as I said, living in the moment is so important, just with yourself and with the people around you. So I have thoughts in the moment on the next page. So this won't take you guys more than like 15 minutes to do. So these are so amazing and beneficial. And I wanted everyone to be able to have it. Everyone deserves to feel free in the mind with our books and journals and to express yourself. It is so important to journal. I'm telling y'all, journal your gratitude, your blessings, even just whenever I'll lay on my hammock and just write down my thoughts just in that moment. And all of a sudden, just like, oh, I'm not really in the mood to write. And then I'll just...
It's amazing.
It's amazing what it
can become your best friend.
Reflection going back onto it, where you used to be.
Where's your hamster wheel? Like where things keep on showing up that you're writing, that will help you so much with the breaking free from, this
so check out our books at Now That's Love. I also have my books tagged at Professor Mother, which is a little bit of my Instagram, so you can check out both of those.
And on our website.
We also have our amazing merchandise on there. We are thrilled to be here. And whenever you guys support us, we get to support y'all even further. We are so grateful to have you guys here. And write in the comments. We love to hear it. Write down in the comments maybe future podcasts you'd be interested in us bringing to you guys, and comments on this podcast, how we can support you guys further, how this one supported you. And we understand that when you're learning that, oh my gosh, I'm doing some of these things, it can be, but remember, it's not a destination. It's just every day you're just taking these steps to become the greatest you and your own hero.
That's right. From our home to yours, much love.
Love y'all. See you on the next one.